This is Kramer.
7:05. Welcome in. Up on the Facebook page right now, if you go to facebook.com. Oh, no, I'm going to try to do this while I'm on the air here. Facebook.com/NewsTalk 1. All right, I can't spell. Talk 101. All right, there we go. I'm going to scroll down here. I took some pictures of Rachel modeling the T-shirts that Scott Major from Major and Paruas sent to us. And you can see her beautiful, shining tan face and these great T-shirts that we just got yesterday, I believe. And what I really like about these shirts is I love the Love and Kisses You on the front. And then the back you'll see. But we did something cool, or they did something cool. They put our logo on the sleeve, on the top. And it looks really cool. I really like that. It turned out really neat. Yeah, there's the shirts. How about that? Love and Kisses You. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing the one and the only. And let me tell you, I think I might, he invited me. I'm going to go ahead and say this. I think he invited me personally yesterday to come down and to hang out for a week on his private yacht. Ladies and gentlemen, Scott Major.
My private yacht's a dinghy, that you blow up with one of those machines,
That's fine. That's fine. It'll be relaxing.
I gotta tell you, those shirts are flying out the door. People are standing in line, okay?
Yes. Yep.
They are the shirts of the gods.
Of course they are. They do look good. I'm telling you, I'm really impressed with how they turned out. I mean, they
really do look good.
The logo really pops on the front, the thing on the back, I'm looking at them now with the pictures on Facebook. And then on the back, Storm Help Team. And let me make sure that, the number is right there. It's visible. 844-800-LAWS, 844-800-LAWS. And here's what we'll do. If you get on the air today and call and talk to Scott Major and ask him a legal question about post-Hurricane Michael, we'll throw in a shirt. So 850-233-9988. On the real tip there, Mr. Major, how are things?
Things are great. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me again.
Well, I hope we have you for a while. I really get jazzed when I'm out and somebody brings you up, and they always ask me about you, and they're like, you guys seem to have a good relationship, and you guys seem to get along really well. I said, no, that's all BS. It's just an act for the air. And, no, I love Scott. And he really does do a lot of common sense things. And we get a lot of compliments on the air when you're not on the air from people that say, hey, I heard you talking to him. And I called him and they picked up the phone. They gave me Scott and he gave me some advice. So that is really good.
That's awesome.
So where do we want to start today, Mr. Major?
So let's talk about the recent ad or a recent newspaper article about extending the state of emergency, which means it was nice enough for the governor to do that. Very proud of him. What it does is it extends, the ability to punish people who are doing illegal things. Like without a state of an emergency, it's $1,000 fine to work without a proper license. When you have a state of emergency, it's a third-degree felony. So what it does is it provides a lot of assistance for consumers like us who are harmed, in some way. And so that's a great thing. And the second thing I want to talk about is what's called the value policy law. So some of you who are facing a total loss where, you've got a covered loss and it's destroyed the majority of your property, there's actually a statute in Florida that covers that, and it's 627.702. And that statute, pretty much says that if you have a loss that is covered, it's caused by a covered peril, a hurricane storm, and the structure is a total loss, then Florida has designed a law that says, hey, we want to figure out a way to simplify and facilitate the prompt settlement of insurance claims when there's a total loss. and, to eliminate, fighting and negotiating and going to court and having those things. And so what they do is they provide a specific law that says that they have to pay you when you have a total loss, and if they don't, there's penalties for not doing that. So people need to understand that there are specific statutes, you and I have talked about a bunch of them, that are out there that apply and help you in these sorts of situations. Another important thing to recognize is a lot of you are facing this scenario where you've now made a claim and you don't know what to do next because the insurance company hasn't responded or the adjuster hasn't responded, and you're not sure what to do. Maybe you hired a public adjuster, maybe you didn't. And another statute called 627.428 is a statute that says that if you have to sue the insurance company, then and you receive $1, you win $1 in trial, then the insurance company has to pay you all of your attorney's fees. So let's say you're a listener and you only have a $3,000 claim. You're like, I'm not going to hire a lawyer. It's going to cost me more than, $3,000 just to talk to Scott. That's crazy. Well, for everybody's benefit, you can hire people like me on these little claims or these smaller claims that are just as valuable to you. And you essentially wouldn't be paying us because if we sue, we'd be going after the insurance company for all the money. And what happens is that it enables listeners to understand that every claim is valuable, every one of them. Whether you have a $300 piping claim or a $3 million condominium claim, that each one of those claims is treated in the same way, at least when we handle it, because you have the same rights. And when an insurance company recognizes that they may spend $10,000 or $20,000 or $30,000 or more in order to pay a $3,000 claim, they might not be so tough. They might not be so arrogant or supercilious or condescending. They might not be so unfair when it's a clear case of coverage because they're going to spend more money. And it's important for the listeners to understand that every claim is valuable. If you've been paid $52,000, but you really owed $58,000, and it's clear that there's coverage for that, but they're just arbitrarily picking a number below that, you have the same rights as somebody who has a $52 million claim. And for most lawyers like us, we have no problem taking those claims because we want to ensure that everybody gets the money that they deserve. And I think that that's important for listeners to understand because when people are judging whether to hire a lawyer, there's this perception that, oh my God, I can't hire a lawyer. They're going to be too expensive. And most of our attorney's fees in a lot of these claims come directly from the insurance company, or we're able to negotiate them in a way that helps the listener to get as much money as they can. So these are important things to recognize as you proceed forward and you start thinking about whether or not you're going to proceed with suit and whether or not you think, quote, you can afford it. It is not expensive to hire a lawyer in the bigger scheme of things. So hopefully that gives some good intel.
Yeah, I think we've talked about it before, that I get the impression, I may be wrong, but I get the impression that here a lot of people are intimidated by the thought of hiring a lawyer. But I think we're getting to the point now where I think the intimidation factor is waning just a bit because people are getting what seems to be bubbling up now is just frustration. And I think that that's the time when you really do want to get a lawyer, because if your frustration boils over and you get in too big of a hurry, I think people wind up settling for far too less, or B, they wind up doing more harm than good by using that frustration. It really gets you nowhere. That's why Mr. Major has said over and over and over again while explaining how to deal communication-wise with insurance companies and mortgage companies, love and kisses you. That's why it's on the shirt. It's cute and we laugh about it, but in the overall scheme of things, it really says something important, and that is to keep your cool and keep your patience.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you that, when you think about all of the nuances of the law, if you have, a $10,000 loss of use, additional living expenses claim, and you only have $5,000 of loss of use, and you have a $1,000 deductible, what if I could get it so that you don't have to pay your deductible? What if I could convince an insurance company or help them to understand that they can't pay less than the total amount of coverage when your claim greatly exceeds the coverage limit? I mean, all of the aggravation and frustration that people have gone through over the past 4 months has reached such an epic proportion that it is angering for you and I just sitting on the side. It's so upsetting to us to have to listen to the pain and the nightmares that people have and how impotent they feel that they can't get things done even though they're smart, intelligent people, and it's disruptive to their entire life. That is a big deal. And I'll tell you that if we can find a way to balm that wound, if there's something we can do to take that stress off of you, to take that pressure off of you, whether it's giving you free advice or whether it's representing you, I think that that's something that everyone needs to consider and understand. And a lot of people have public adjusters, and some of them have done a very good job, but they can't get much more money. Now what do? And so it's very important for all of you that are listening to take advantage of the reality that you have an insurance contract that you paid for many times for years or decades, and you're entitled to every dollar that the insurance company promised to pay you. Not a dollar more. If you don't have coverage, you're not entitled, but if you are, you're entitled. And you should seek every available remedy to not only recover money, but just to make your life a little less overwhelming and stressful, and to help all of us rebuild what is a beautiful community, and to get back to tourism where people are not afraid to come there because they see on the internet pictures of still destroyed properties and they're gun shy to come down.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking about, there was an article in the Tallahassee Democrat, I think 2 days ago, and I was talking about it extensively on the show yesterday, and it paints a very, very, a dim picture of the Panhandle and what's happening here. And you, combined with that article, there was, news in the past couple of days about the Bureau of Tourism, and they've got, I think, a grant for $1 million, and it's to help advertise, that tourism is alive and well here. And the tourism, the tourism part of it is going to be, eventually is going to be okay. I think the real issue, as I see, with my own eyes and when I live my life and I'm driving around running errands, is that there are so many on the Panama City side and in Callaway and Springfield and those areas. There is it's mind blowing to even still think about how broad the destruction is. And you've got businesses that are down, businesses that we're 4.5 months in. There are main huge businesses. The Winn-Dixie over on 23rd that I used to go to every other day still is not open. There are restaurants that are just now opening and coming back online, and it's a very, very slow process. And I think from talking to you, once you get in there and once you assess the situation, see the policy, there are things that you can do, which I'm so glad we have you on to describe all of those things, because it kind of eases your mind just a little bit to know that there are ways, creative ways around things to get things to happen quicker.
There's no doubt about it, and I think you really have hit the nail on the head when you talk about the widespread destruction, the reality that, think about, if you're a business, you've worked your lifetime to make your brand work, and now all of a sudden people aren't going into the restaurant anymore. And what happens is that even when you recover, the people don't come back because they found other places to go to. So it's so important that we get these businesses back up. They are the heartbeat of the city and the county, and it's so important for us to help. And it's so important to get our neighborhoods cleaned up, because people don't like looking at the eyesores. It's depressing to see your neighbor or your house not completely finished, or at least not started. And all of the delays that have gone on, it takes a toll on you emotionally, physically as well as financially. And so, we're trying to do everything we can to expedite a process that otherwise could take years. I've had cases in South Florida that have taken 5, 6, and 7 years to get payments on. There is no way that the Panhandle can survive that kind of delay.
No.
So we have to leverage every aspect, every angle we have to get our city back, for lack of a better word, the 850 strong concept, and to realize that there are truly avenues, there are truly options to help people to speed the process along, to motivate insurance companies to pay, and just as equally important, I might say, if you don't have coverage, at least I can explain, or whoever the expert can explain to you, hey, this is not a claim. You didn't get insurance. Maybe next time you should, or maybe you need to talk to your insurance agent. But the bottom line is that you can know what's truly covered and what's not, and you can make sure you've done full reviews, like checking out your windows if you haven't done that, or other types of things that might not be visually apparent to you. But the idea that people, can do this on their own is coming back to rue the day on many of them, because they just don't know that the insurance companies are requiring certain things to go on that they just may not be aware of. And I'll tell you one last quick story about that. I just got a condominium who has been waiting for a year after Hurricane Irma. And come to find out, there's a letter in the file that says your proof of loss is defective and you need to provide us with these documents, and we're not moving forward and even evaluating your claim until you provide us with the rest of these documents. And they're like, we had no idea. We had a board. We thought things were going one way over another. So you can start to understand how getting educated, getting empowered is one of the most powerful tools to getting a remedy.
Scott Major, let's do some phones coming up. You got one. We'll give you a shirt, 850-233-9988. Carrie, you sit tight. We'll get to you next. One open line, 850-233-9988.
This is the Kramer Show. Kramer Show. More to come on News Talk at 101. This is Kramer.
Okay, everybody, here we go.
News Talk at 101. 1, 2, 3.
Scott Major joins us from Major, Paruas, and the Storm Help Team. Their phone number is 844-800-LAWS. I just saw something, and we don't have to talk about this for half an hour, but I thought I love it. There's a new bill that was filed in the Florida Senate. A law could make it illegal to pet your dog while you're driving. Thank you, God. And they redefine this distracted driving to include more than just mobile phones. So if you have a dog that's hopping all over you while you're driving, and you could eventually be ticketed, I think it's a wonderful thing.
But you can still eat.
Yeah, you should be able to eat. I mean, you should be able to talk on your telephone, and you should be able to eat and change the radio. That's about it. Other than that, you should go right to jail, I think.
Well said.
If you have a question for Scott Major, 850-233-9988. 850-233-9988. If you get on the air and you ask a legal question about post-Hurricane Michael stuff, we'll throw in one of the shirts that was sent. I still hear, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I still hear a lot of people as I'm walking around just shopping in the grocery store. I mentioned this yesterday. People still having conversations about AOBs. People are trying to piece all of this together still, even though it's been 4.5 months. And in the grand scheme of things, 4.5 months after an event that damning is really not that long of a period of time, unless you're suffering and the insurance company is playing games.
No doubt. I can tell you that the new movement for vendors is to secure assignments of benefits as part of their contract. And as a result, these vendors are now able to directly secure payment from the insurance company for those that are good, honest, reputable vendors, it's a wonderful opportunity to allow them to go directly to the insurance company or to receive money or to converse with the insurance company directly to help expedite your claim. For those that aren't, it creates a secondary nightmare for the consumer, because if somebody takes an assignment of benefits, such as a roofer, for example, and they don't do good work and they get paid, the insurance company's not going to pay a new roofer to fix your problem. So what you have to do is to be very cautious about who you do business with, to make sure, just like with any business deal you do, just to make sure that the people are reputable, they're licensed and insured, and they provide you with a copy of their insurance policy and binder, so that, God forbid, they should do something that is less than amusing, you have some remedies available to you, as opposed to a fly-by-night company that comes in and promises you the world and then holds you hostage. Now, I would say that it's a minority of situations where assignments of benefits can go bad if you have reputable companies, but there are so many companies out there that make promises. You need to be cautious in your desperation to try to get a vendor. My opinion is, if you're not sure what vendor to get, then you can check with your Better Business Bureau. You can check with local, people that you can call our 844-800-LAWS number. And for every vendor that you're going to hire, ask them for references. Look them up. Make sure before you sign away rights to insurance coverage that you would trust these people based on the reputation, based on the information which they provide to you that gives you confidence. That simple technique will change the amount of people that hire vendors that are less than reputable or who take advantage of the process under the guise of manipulating your desperation.
A lot of people have been taken advantage of already. You know what I mean?
No doubt.
And that's another reason why you want to get someone like Scott Major on your side. Sorry, I'm having a little bit of a head.
Yeah, and I predict you're going to have AOB legislation. I predict you're going to have, people come down, whether it's the CFO or the state of Florida, be more, attacking or more vigilant about ensuring that if you have an assignment of benefits, that it's done correctly. For your listeners, you have to understand, you can receive all the money. You don't have to have an assignment of benefits in order to get a reputable vendor. What you need is good dialogue with the insurance company. And so if you have a vendor and he or she needs to be paid, and you're regularly communicating with the insurance company, you can get agreements in writing where the insurance company says, hey, we'll go ahead and pay these people in stages, or we'll pay you and then you could pay them. Here's the situation that we'll do it under, so that nobody has any problems. The vendor doesn't have to worry about being paid or having the consumer keep the money or hold them hostage. It's very simple. And for vendors, they have lien rights, so they have enough protections in place to be able to do that. It just makes the process a little easier for a vendor when they can have an assignment and then take it over, and then they say, we're not going to hold you hostage, client, homeowner, condo owner. We'll go ahead and fight for our money, and if we don't get our money, then we'll have our own problems. That's the risk we take. And we represent general contractors and other vendors who have these assignments of benefits. One of our clients has 200 of them, where they went into the city and the cities and said, hey, we won't take $1 from you. We'll just go ahead and, go after the insurance company. We want the work. We're going to do great work, and we have confidence that we're going to get paid. And assuming there is coverage in those situations, those people should get paid because they stand in the shoes of the insured. So it's just paying attention, if you're a listener, and making sure that the people that you're hiring are people that you can hold accountable and have no problems being held accountable. I don't. You don't. We don't have a problem being held accountable for what we do and say. We're reputable people, so others should be able to do the same.
I don't understand. Go ahead, Rachel. I don't understand why this is such a huge. Well, I guess I'm phrasing that wrong. I know that if it were me and I needed something done, I would have a major in-depth conversation with the vendor before they got out of the truck. I would just have here's what you're telling me you're going to charge, and I want you to put that down on a piece of paper, and then I'm gonna give that piece of paper to the insurance company, and we're gonna get you paid. And if there is any fluctuation or if there's anything wonky there, then it's between you and the insurance company, and the insurance company should make you whole. Period. The end. That's just how I look at it.
And I'll tell you, you can write it down on a glazed donut. You can write it on a napkin. You can write it on a formal contract. You can write out whatever you want. It can be in English. It doesn't have to be in some legalese. Here's what you're going to do. Here's the circumstances under which you're going to do it. Here's what happens if you don't do it. If they say they're going to go after the insurance company, fantastic. Make sure there's a clause in there that says they can't sue you when the insurance company doesn't pay them. That's what they're bargaining for. Again, most good vendors will gladly say, no problem. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to help both parties. We're trying to help the insured to feel comfortable they can turn this over and not have to worry about expending money. And we're trying to help the vendors in making sure that they are honorable and good to the people that they serve so that they can go directly against the insurance company. Because it's very easy. If I have a claim and the roof's been blown off and I have an assignment of benefits and I have the general contractor roofer, I can get paid directly, get that money to the roofer, and you get your new roof. You know, and again, we have a lot of vendors, a lot of public adjusters that refer cases to us because they've either exhausted their opportunity or they realize we're going to get a lot further as a lawyer, and we have a lot more leverage with the attorney's fee provisions and these other things. And I'll tell you, I've talked to fellow lawyers, and a lot of the lawyers, as soon as they get cases, they just file suit. They just go right in and file suit because they want the clock running immediately on the defendant having to pay for attorney's fees. So the whole key is just to get our city back as quickly as possible with the least amount of stress to you. And the only way to do that is to get gladiators like us to go in there and kill the enemy. Hopefully you go in and you can shake hands and say, please don't make me kill you. Please work with us. But if not, I'm bringing out the infantry. And we're going to bring out the weaponry, and we're going to do everything we can to make you honor the promises that you made for all of these years of premiums. Remember, some people are paying premiums for decades. Decades. Never made a claim.
Yeah, and there's and again,
not
there's
be ashamed to make a claim.
No, absolutely not. That's why you pay it. You know, somebody put it one way the other day. They were like, when you go to the doctor and they, you have insurance, you don't feel guilty about that. You go in, you say, hey, the insurance is going to pay for it. Give me my X-rays, give me my pills. I got things to do. Let's go. And nobody says a word. It's done. It's automatic. You pay the premiums. You get your health care. It just seems odd to me that it's a completely different, story or case with homeowners insurance and business owners in their insurance.
Yeah, I think they leverage that percentage. But I'll say one other thing that's really quick about it, and that is that I think that there's a lot of insurance companies that will gladly pay you every dollar, if you just provide them with all of the information they need. If you provide them with all of the documents, all of the invoices, all the pictures, an estimate that makes sense, a lot of them will pay. So sometimes it's the operator error. Sometimes you don't have sufficient documentation and support. The insurance company's dying to pay you, but won't pay you without sufficient support or sufficient documentation. So let's also understand that that's why getting a professional involved is so important, because they'll find out exactly what the company needs and give it to them.
Yeah, well, oftentimes, isn't it just above everybody's head about what they actually want you to provide them? I mean, it's not just basic stuff. I mean, Scott, it's asinine what some of the stuff that I've seen over the past 4 months that they want, the demands that they want from the homeowner before they'll pay a dime. Some of that's just ridiculous.
No doubt about it, and I'm not saying that it's one size fits all. I'm merely saying that from my experience, a lot of times when I get involved and I call the adjuster, the desk level adjuster on the phone, and I talk to them, they'll say, we don't have pictures of that particular room damage. We've sent a letter asking them to fill out this form, and they haven't filled it out.
Ah, okay.
We don't have a sufficient amount of invoices that match up for the hotels that they stayed at. And so, some of the things, yes, can get out of hand. But a lot of things, you don't know that. You're the insured. You and I have talked about this. So many people don't know what they don't know. All the claims are closed. 80% of people are happy because all the claims are closed. Oftentimes it is a poor communication, interplay between the insured or the insured's representative and the insurance company. That's not to say there aren't dumb things out there that the insurance companies, require, but they do in your contract. It does require you to provide some things, and you need to provide them. And I think if you do, you give yourself a stronger chance. But most importantly, like you just said, you have to get over this stigma of thinking that somehow if you sue, it's a failure. It's the opposite. It's you waited 4.5 months. At what point in time? What, a year from now? 3 years from now? At what point in time will you be upset enough to make the insurance company honor their promises? Nothing more, nothing less.
Well, what I was getting to there with what I was saying was that I think a lot of times that's why you would want to hire somebody like you, an attorney, because sometimes, reading this stuff and trying to decipher what it is that they want is just it's a little heady. It's really intimidating to get a letter from the insurance company and they want you to prove exactly what was damaged in more ways than one. And so that can be, that can be worth, getting an attorney just to do that.
I think you're absolutely right. And I think that, if you've seen anything in clearly in the last 4.5 months, it's that nothing's clear.
No, you're absolutely right.
And I see this after every storm, and I literally fight with insureds who eventually come around, begging them to get legal protection, to get lawyers involved earlier so that perhaps they can resolve cases. Not because we're litigation, happy, but because hopefully by getting a lawyer involved, and a lot of times this happens with me, you get a lawyer involved, you don't have to sue. If we have to, we will. But all along, the whole key is to simply get you the most dollars the quickest. There's nothing unreasonable about that. And I think you and I, if we've done one thing, it's over these 4.5 months, we've educated people that you don't need to fear people like me. You don't need to worry about, that it's going to be expensive. You don't need to worry about, that you have to hire somebody if you want to just get information. But I can't emphasize enough. You have to band together in neighborhoods. You have to get your entire churches. You got to get me out to educate everybody. You got to hire professionals now, because as time goes on, it gets harder to prove your claim. The water has dried up. Certain problems are not as clear if you don't have pictures of them. There are loads of issues that work against you over time. It becomes harder to prove claims when you wait a longer period of time, and now it's debatable whether there's 16 more rainstorms that caused the problem or the hurricane.
Sorry, yeah, and we definitely have had our fair share of rain over the past. My goodness, it's every other day we get downpours. All right, we got to take a break. 850-233-9988. Take advantage of the last 10 minutes here with Scott Major from Major and Paruas and the Storm Help Team. 850-233-9988. We'll be right back with more Scott. Stand by.
This is The Kramer Show. More to come on NewsTalk at 101.
Shake it. Today is February 28th. Scott Major is on the phone with us. Scott Major from Major Paruas and the Storm Help Team. We got phones lined up. Let's go to Jim. Jim, you're up with Scott Major.
Good morning.
How y'all doing?
My question is, how can a person verify that a contractor has workman's comp for all of his people and also his subcontractors?
Okay, thanks for the question. The first thing you do is ask them for their insurance. And when you ask them for their insurance and their workers' comp protection, it will list all the people that are covered. And you tell them that, you ask them, does every worker have workers' comp? You have coverage for every single worker? And when they say yes, you write them, or you put it in the contract that they're certifying that every single person out there, they're protected, and then you're golden.
Well,
And if they don't, you can't stop somebody from lying and committing a fraud and bringing somebody out there you don't know about, but you can contract in a way that makes it clear that they've made affirmative representations that may result in serious damages to them if they aren't being truthful.
well, the question is, most of these vendors are working through a payroll company, and it does not list any people that are covered under it.
Yeah,
Is there a way to verify?
Sure. The best thing in the world to do is whether the person is working through an ADP payroll company or whether they have their own company, is to have them tell you, okay, who are the workers that are going to be out there? Please provide me the list of every single name and confirm that you have coverage for all of them. They'll either do it or they won't. If they don't say, no problem, we'll happily do that, go find another vendor. If they say they will, then have them list all the people that are out there, and then you can write them and say, if there's anybody else that's going to come out to this property, you're going to let me know in advance. They're not going to step foot on my property. I mean, these are simple one-sentence agreements that if you get them in place, you'll have the comfort that you'll have that protection. If they don't do that, then you should be very gun-shy for those people who are concerned about that kind of exposure. Make sense?
Yes, it does. Would that be grounds for terminating a contract?
Sure. I mean, again, it depends on whether the law says you can terminate a contract with cause if it's a material breach. And the question will be whether that's material. By writing it down, it becomes a material term. And you can even say it's a material term. But the concept is to make sure that that's discussed so that you don't have problems that you don't know about. Because you don't want unlicensed workers or unlicensed personnel or uncovered people working on a job and then getting hurt and then, blaming you or saying that you caused some or all the problems.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much.
Call me
right.
if you need any additional help.
There you go. Thank you, Jim. Let's switch to Angela. Angela, you're up with Scott Major. Go ahead.
Good morning.
Morning.
Hey, how you doing?
Hi. My question is two-part. So we had a remediation mitigation company moving through our neighborhood immediately after the storm. We were one of the last to sign on with them, and the contract ended up being an assignment of benefits. However,
Hold on. Angela, we have to package that. We'll hook you guys up off the air. Stand by.
This is live at Local Morning.